Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well and welcome back to Whiskey Wanders. And I want to start this one off by saying first, thank you all so much for watching these videos. It's really amazing to see this channel just keep growing and to get to share these videos with you all and to actually hear your comments back and also see what prices and what kind of availability is available in your area, in your Costco, or even in your stores. It's just really great to see and to hear. Just thanks again. And I hope you all, enjoyed this one as well too. Now today, I'm in a Costco that I don't often frequent, and in fact, the only reason I even started going to this one is because somebody posted on the Costco Reddit alcohol forum that they had a boatload of Nika coffee malt left. So I went down there, and it turns out that sometimes they get some pretty decent whiskeys, even though you wouldn't think so because of the area that it's in. So now, obviously not on a regular basis, but sometimes I head over to the Hawthorne Costco when I'm in town and I check out what they have. And you know what? Today I am super glad that I did because I got so super duper double dog lucky to come across the last few bottles of Angel's Envy Ice Cider Whiskey, the special edition at MSRP. Additionally, there is also some other interesting Indian Amrut Fusion whiskey from India, and a local distillery that is starting to come out with some new Southern California whiskey styles as well. So I'll talk about the prices. I'll do a brief comparison of each of these in this Whiskey Wanders, and let me know what you think. Now, before we get to it though, if you like these little videos of me whiskey shopping at Costco, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when my newest videos get put up. So thanks again, and let's get down to it. All right, so let's start out this Whiskey Wanders with one of my favorite finds of whiskeys in this last little bit, which is this Angel's Envy Ice Cider Rye, which just kind of jumps out at you when you see it there on the shelf. And it wasn't even behind the glass; it was just sitting there on the shelf. So this Angel Envy, which is based out of Louisville, made this Angel's Envy Ice Cider Rye, which is one of only 4 different special limited edition cellar collections that the brand produced since its inception in 2013. And the catch to it is that this Angel's Envy Rye whiskey is aged for 364 days in barrels that are from Vermont's Eden Specialty Ciders, which is cider that is made from apples. Apple cider. Hard cider, I guess. Now, only 6,000 bottles were produced, which means it's not that rare, but it was only for sale in a few states, California being one of them. And when I normally see something like this, I usually will pass because the box and the bottle, they just look too much flash, and I get suspicious about the actual whiskey. But judging by the reviews and what people are saying about it online, being really good, I actually ended up deciding to pick it up. Now, the price here at Costco for the Angel Envy Ice Cider is set at $199.99, which is really quite good considering when you look at the online prices. And bear in mind, it's a special edition, so there are always going to be some gouging on the street shelf prices. But the street shelf prices range from a highway robbery amount of $799 on the high side and on the low side to a more reasonable $277.77 on the low side. I mean, reasonable if you're the kind of person who's super into Angel Envy and needs to get all the special editions. So that puts the average street shelf price at $538.39. So picking this up at Costco, at the Costco price, it means that I saved $338.40 off the street shelf price, or a stupid high amount of percentage at 62.85%. But of course, this is because, again, of that gouging that liquor stores do when they know they can get a lot of money out of a bottle. Okay, so the ABV on this is quite high as well. It's at 53.5%, which is a bit intimidating, but the taste notes on it mention things like bold, peppery flavor, cinnamon notes, vanilla, ripe apples, toffee, butterscotch, and a long transition from spicy to sweet with a background of earthiness. So, I mean, of course, that all sounds pretty amazing and pretty good. And I'm hoping the taste, I actually hope the taste is more of like an alcoholic apple fritter. Hopefully. I love apple fritters. At this point, I wasn't able to find any actual review scores on it. There are some reviews, but no actual point scores that people haven't scored it out. There's not that many people who have tried it. So at the moment, we're going to have to leave this one as far as the average score up to conjecture. But in conclusion, I saw that there's only a few left, so I bought 2. And of course, just going to pat myself on the back a little bit. Instead of being greedy, I left 1. Now, I don't know if you can see it there. It's in the little back. So you're welcome, fellow whiskey-loving strangers out there, whoever got it, whoever you are. And I guess if you think about it, the other person who didn't buy these 2, I guess it's they left them for me. So It's kind of a pay it forward, a circle of life, if you will, of whiskey. Now, the next whiskey I saw on this trip was the Amrut Fusion, which is a whiskey from India. And, uh, I'm starting to see a lot of these whiskeys coming out from places in the world where you wouldn't normally think that there are whiskeys being made. Some even right here in Southern California, but also ones in China and in Taiwan. And in this case, it's in India, which sort of makes sense given the history from England or Britain, and the spread of hardened spirits. And it makes sense that India would have a unique and interesting whiskey community too. Now, this one was originally released in 2017. It is aged for a minimum of 6 years. The whiskey is aged in ex-bourbon and new charred oak barrels. It has a mash bill of 100% barley, which is 25% of it. So 25% of that 100% of malted barley is also peated. It's non-chill filter and is mid-range whiskey in the total Amrut line. Now, the cost here at Costco is at $62.99, so not exactly cheap, but if you were to find it on the street shelf price, you'd have a high and low range on it at $93.59, that's on the high side, and $86.99 on the low side. So this puts the average street shelf price for the Amrut Fusion at $90.29. So if you pick it up at Costco, you get a savings of $27.30 or 30.24%, which, if you think about it, it's nothing really to walk away from. Now, the thing I like about this one is the ABV. It's set at exactly 50%, which seems like an appropriate amount of alcohol considering the flavors that the whiskeys are meant to impart, these kind of Indian-y, spicy flavors. So for the taste notes, it mentioned things like mild heat, sweet, malty, some caramel, pepper, clove, mild smokiness, and a lot of rubber. And, a sugar wheat toast. So that definitely sounds interesting and kind of sounds pretty good, I guess. The reviews on it are not that bad at 86.5 average points. It's actually pretty good. It mentioned that it has a medium to thin mouthful, tasting very young and generally unremarkable, which is about right. If you think about the score of 86, it can kind of go either way. But for 86, that's not a terrible score. It's not perfect. It's not great, but it's also not that bad. So for me, I've been meaning to buy one of these. I've seen a couple of them, and I just haven't been able to pull the trigger on it. And in reality, in this visit, I spent a little too much of the whiskey budget on these 2 bottles from Angel's Envies, the ice cider one. So at this time, gonna have to get past. Now, this last whiskey for the day is one that I wanted so bad to be good. It's a local brand from here in Los Angeles, more specifically in El Segundo, which is sort of like a sleepy beach town that has a massive oil refinery in it and enough members of the military industrial complex office there to basically defend off the area from the entire Swedish army. But it also has this little R6 distillery. Now, this R6 whiskey is a very new entrant into the whiskey market, and it's great to see some new, innovative, and interesting companies starting to try to make whiskeys because it doesn't always have to be for the big guys with their flaming dump trucks of money who can make great whiskey. But of course, that being said, I do believe that this whiskey company is still very young and pretty early in its production. So, despite the ratings of the whiskey, I'm still hopeful that it gets better over time. So, this R6 distillery was established in 2014 and has produced this whiskey that is aged only a minimum of 2 years, which is maybe not enough, to be honest. But, I guess it's a start, right? If you got to get the money going early, you got to do what you got to do. The cost on it at Costco is at $31.99 for the 750 milliliter bottle, so it's not exactly cheap. And realistically, for a few dollars more, you could get a Woodford or Makers, or even a higher end Jack for that matter. So, it's got some stiff competition at that price point. The high and the low that I could find for this, I guess we could call it boutique style whiskey, is set at the high end of $49.99 on the high side and the low for $42.99. So this puts the average street shelf price set at $46.49. So if you do end up buying it at Costco, you get a savings of $14.50 or 31.19%. Now, the ABV on it is on the lower side at 43%, and the tasting notes mention things like cinnamon, a pepper kick, caramel, roasted nuts, figs, and corn grits flavor. Unfortunately, though, the reviews are quite bad. They're quite harsh on this one. I think realistically, it's got to be the lowest one that I've seen so far at 58.33 points. And I guess in reality, look, if you're going to go small and make a local boutique whiskey, You need to go really as high end as you possibly can. Age it for as long as you can or even longer and really focus on a great flavor and profile. With this one, being stuck in the middle income trap for whiskeys, I just don't think it's doing itself any favors with its competition and where it's at. So, as much as I like to support local whiskeys and local stuff in general as I can, this one is going to be a hard pass, at least until they can get a better grip on where they fit in the market and improve the flavor of the whiskey. All right, so that's it for today's whiskey wandering at Costco in Hawthorne, which is in Los Angeles. And you know what? Thank you all so much again for watching to the very end. I hope that you enjoyed these videos, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get notified when my newest videos get put up. Also, don't forget, if you see a whiskey that you love, just buy it. Because if you don't, somebody else surely will, and it might even be me. Have a great rest of your day. I'm out. Adios.